Yes, indeed, folks, the sounds of Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. You just heard the might of Rhapsody, Dawn of Victory. You know it, you love it, it's epic. Yeah. Now, I say, I'm going to post all of the answers to last week's second win, as in designer boss encounter, on the forums after the show is over. So many thanks to all of those who participated in it. And it did bring up some very, very interesting points, and people obviously did spend a lot of time on it, and I very much do appreciate it. However, I have other things to cover in this particular show, so I can't wax lyrical about how awesome the listener base is for the rest of the show. Now, it's been interesting to see the wind-up to particular MMOs such as Vanguard and Lord of the Rings Online, and seeing what people actually think. And the amount of crying and whining and just shouting from the rooftops by people who say, well, this is the WoW killer, this is it. WoW's been set as this gold standard. And it should be, to be quite honest. It's been set as a gold standard of MMOs, but what I think people are truly missing the point on is that before this, before WoW, MMOs were nowhere near this popular. Now, people do wonder why that is. And I've covered it in previous shows by saying that WoW is very accessible. The funny thing about WoW is specifically that WoW did not, in fact, bring in all of these MMO players into one boat. It didn't happen. You didn't see, when WoW was released, a massive downturn in the subscriber base of every other MMO on the planet. That didn't happen. What it did do was bring in new players who hadn't necessarily played an MMORPG before, who had not considered playing one for any length of time. Now, that area would also include me, because the only game that I played for any degree of time, I played about Earth and Beyond for about a month, and that was only on and off, never really got seriously into it, and I played PlanetSide, which is not an MMORPG, it's an MMOFPS. So it's a completely different state of affairs. The whole turn-offs, at least for players, were the amount of time that it took, and how inaccessible it was for newer players who got into the game and really were not held by the hand. They were pushed into a very hostile environment that they couldn't deal with. Now, it's funny for people to hold up WoW as the gold standard and say, this will be the WoW beta, this will be the WoW beta. And I'm about to say that there will not be a WoW beta, and the reason for that is quite simple. WoW forged a niche, specifically a niche within MMOs, ironically enough, a niche which, a niche you would generally expect a different group of players, probably a smaller group of players. They formed a niche that was actually larger than MMO gaming in general, which is really funny to see. WoW is a specific kind of MMO. It's, to be honest, one of the most casual-friendly MMOs, and it is amazing to see people continue to whine about how it isn't casual-friendly. Wow, 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 hardcore, get all this, wow, wow, wow. Compare that to Vanguard, or even compare that to EverQuest, or any other number of MMORPGs, and WoW is child's play in comparison. It really is. To get access to all this stuff requires far less work than it did in any of these other games. Now, Vanguard is never ever going to be a WoW beta. Why fanboys insist on coming out of the woodwork and screaming it and saying, hey, it'll do this, I really do not know, because what they fail to understand, and even SOE, who admitted that the damn thing wasn't ready in the first place, admit and claim that Vanguard is a completely different idea. Vanguard is about playing hardcore. It claims it is a hardcore MMO, and that was the market they were aiming for. In my opinion, that's a big damn mistake, because there are a lot of MMOs that do the hardcore thing a lot better. Really do. EVE is probably the best example. It's exceedingly successful. It's not particularly easy to get into, but the rewards are there for those who are willing to spend the time and the patience in order to get them. It was a game that I really genuinely considered playing for a while. It's a nice setting, it's got all this cool stuff, this fleet-level combat, you can build your own content in the sense of building your own HQs, take over systems, build Titan-class ships, all this great cool stuff. And I can't be arsed with it because it takes up too much time to get anywhere and the environment is too hostile. Now, Vanguard is pretty similar to that in the way, specifically, of how damn long it takes to get anywhere in it. It's completely and totally unforgiving, and for some reason it uses that as a selling point. Now, I don't believe that's a particularly good selling point. I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not play WoW to go through X number of hours of content only to be knocked all the way back to square one just because of a mistake or lag or whatever. Death penalties, XP penalties, taking so long to level up. These are all bad things. And of course the reason, or at least one of the reasons that WoW did so well is because it eliminated all of these things. Now, bringing that back as a kind of, ooh, look at the nostalgia, is a complete waste of space. If people liked that kind of thing, then they would go back to playing mods. I used to play mods, and I remember how much fun they used to be when there was nothing else available. And it's the same with EverQuest. That was great when there was nothing else available. Right now, there is something else available, and that, of course, is WoW. WoW is here, WoW is available for people that do not want to waste that kind of time and want to get some bloody rewards without being kicked in the face over and over and over again by horrible game mechanics. And in my opinion, that's why people keep playing the game, and it's why they recommend it to their friends. People ask me, why should I play WoW? Isn't it just like EverQuest? Won't I have to dedicate so many hours to getting anywhere in it? And I'll say no, because every level is its own reward, and every area and every quest is its own reward. It rewards you for doing pretty much everything. It gives you loads and loads of carrots and no stick. Now that's a really interesting way of doing things, because other MMOs have gone with the carrot and stick approach and have, in my opinion, overdone the stick. Very much so they have overdone the stick, and that really turns people off the game. Now, we were having a discussion, myself and Kiki, on the way down to the Fintroll and Amon Amarth gig in Manchester, and if anyone was there, it was awesome, as you can probably well attest. And we were coming to this conclusion that WoW is never ever going to be beaten in its particular genre. And the reason for that is that it occupies this rather unique subgenre within the MMO community of being a casual MMORPG, with genuine progression involved in it. You can say, well, there's all loads of casual MMOs. PlanetSide could be a casual MMO because you can jump in and play. Well, you can jump in and play and get owned in the face repeatedly, yes. Or maybe Yahoo Puzzle Pirates and all this other cool stuff. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Yahoo Puzzle Pirates, but at the end of the day, it's barely an MMORPG in the traditional sense of the word. Why do people like RPGs? Well, I go back to my basic theorem as regards to role-playing games in general. Kill the dragon, save the girl, steal his treasure. Those are the three big things. Now what does that mean? Kill the dragon. You want to slay big things. Okay, right, well, big things are available here. In fact, there's a hell of a lot of them. Save the girl. Be a hero. You know, and that's why people really want to play MMORPGs, if anything, because they're being told that they can be the hero. Being the hero, yeah? And, of course, stealing the dragon's treasure. Stealing the dragon's treasure. Getting loot. The desire of many a raider and many a player. They wish to progress their character. The way to progress the character is via the acquisition of virtual wealth. Loot. Magical items. It's been the staple of RPGs, Dungeons and Dragons, and anything else based on that for a very, very long time. Because players do require this kind of a watermark, if anything, and they want to check where they are on the great ladder of things. Role-playing, as in its purest form, doesn't involve any of this, but calling it an RPG and then taking on the idea of role-playing is actually... they're actually two completely different areas, in my honest opinion. Role-playing and RPGs have diverged so much. RPGs are often based around stats and character progression. Character progression is probably one of the most important elements, if not the most important element, in the modern RPG, whereas role-playing in its purest form is, as you would expect, playing a role, using your imagination in order to go through various areas, do various things, and all this great, cool, uber stuff that everyone loves. Now, the question then becomes, why is WoW so popular? And we've answered this in previous shows. It's accessibility. And let's look at its competition right now that's coming forward to attempt to take WoW's crown. And I think probably the best example, if anything, would be Lord of the Rings Online. Supposedly very accessible. Supposedly rather casual. Unfortunately, it suffers from a particular stigma. Lord of the Rings, and this is going to be really damn controversial, Lord of the Rings does not have the same coolness factor that Warcraft does. Now that is going to be probably one of the most controversial things I've ever said, and loads of people are going to disagree with me. However, let me explain. Lord of the Rings is very, very much the classic fantasy. It is, of course, the classic fantasy. Lord of the Rings, the Tolkien universe, Middle-earth, very, very much the classic fantasy. Warcraft isn't. It really actually isn't the classic fantasy world. It's got a lot of nice twists on it. Take, for example, the way that the Outland is, the idea of technology being implemented into it. Now, technology in the Middle-earth universe is completely and totally inconceivable. It's high fantasy. You can't have technology. That's just not allowed. Now, Warcraft throws that to the wind. The universe of Azeroth and the Outlands, we already have the idea of places like Gnomeregan, Ironforge, Gadget-San, all of these places which do integrate rudimentary forms of technology, and now if you go further on, you will notice a rather unique mix. If anything, it's even... what would be the word? It's a little bit steampunk in a way. Very much so, and that's a very interesting thing to integrate into a supposedly a little bit traditional universe, and people don't seem to realise that it's not actually as traditional as they first think. You just need to go to Netherstorm to see why that's the case, or even go to Hellfire Peninsula and see your first Fel Reaver. Now, that is not traditional fantasy. No way is that traditional fantasy at all, and it's actually a universe that creates its own credibility. The problem with Lord of the Rings is that people are very much going to see it as a Care Bear alternative. Very much so. It's nowhere near as edgy. It's very safe. It's very traditional. And in the sense, it doesn't even have PvP. It's got consensual monster play, which is so incredibly meaningless in my honest opinion. It reminds me of playing... what was the name of that RPG? I can't even remember the name of it. There's Lord of the Rings RPG on the Xbox and the PS2. And I'm sure some of you will remember the name of it. It's completely escaped me right now. But in that, there was the option to play evil, and I thought, oh, that's great. All that actually is, if anything, is the ability to go through some of the encounters and play the bad guys instead of the good guys. And it's not really its own story, it's just there. And that's effectively monster play. It's exactly the same thing. It's pretty much a meaningless excursion. The bigger problem you've also got with Lord of the Rings is the fact that the storyline progression is going to be very, very stuck within the Middle-earth universe. Azeroth and the Outlands are pretty much free reign. They really are, because they were written by the people who made the game in the first place, which means they can effectively do whatever the hell they like with it. It's interesting to note that probably one of the biggest pulling points of the Matrix Online was the idea that they were going to progress the story through it. Now, this is exactly what they're doing with World of Warcraft, yet they cannot do that. They can't. It's just not even feasible to do it with Lord of the Rings Online. Now, that's a real problem, because Lord of the Rings Online has got all of this literature and all of this background lore and canon, so many books written within the world by Tolkien and by Tolkien's family, and all of this stuff that's been written on the side, that there's very little room for flexibility. And as much as you might look at the game mechanics and say, well, the game mechanics are what really matters, that's not really the case. People are attracted originally to worlds because of how lively they are and the story behind them. You may not be a lore hound. I certainly aren't. I am not. I really am not a massive fan of the lore at all. I never bother to really read it. I will read quest text from time to time, but I will still think it's cool that Illidan is the end boss of the Black Temple, because it's a universe that has been forged through a variety of games. It's become a franchise developed by the company itself, and the storyline is, of course, held onto by the company itself, and that gives it a lot of flexibility. And that is, I think, where the Lord of the Rings Online is going to fall down, even without looking at its game mechanics, which are very much knockoffs of WoW. Instead of health, you have morale, and all of these UI features look exactly the same. It's trying to imitate. Unfortunately, what it fails to realise is that imitating WoW is not the way that you are going to beat WoW. In fact, I don't believe that WoW can be beaten, because what WoW did was take all the elements of various MMORPGs that had gone before it, mix them up, take out the bad elements, and there you go. Simply copying WoW and sticking it in the Lord of the Rings universe, which, from my beta experience in Lord of the Rings Online, I genuinely believe that's pretty much all that Turbine has done, and that's pretty damn disappointing in my opinion. That's not a winner. You're not going to win with that. No way, shape or form is that ever going to succeed. It will have its own fan base. I have no doubts that it will get people playing. And it certainly probably get more people playing than bloody Vanguard, because it's a joke of a game that makes you want to tear out your own eyeballs. It is that horrible. But it's never going to be a beater of WoW. WoW is going to hold this apex. It's become the very pinnacle of what a, quote, casual MMORPG based on an original universe can be, and I don't believe that anything is going to dethrone it. Nothing. I don't believe that there's anything whatsoever that will manage to dethrone WoW. That's not to say that WoW is going to endure eternally. It won't, because what people's going to find out is that their interests are changing. For instance, my interests originally laying planetside, an MMO FPS, and only WoW was able to convert me to a casual-based MMO RPG with some PvP and PvE elements in it. I feel that Warhammer Online is definitely going to be something which is going to be a threat to WoW, but not because it's a WoW beta. No, it's different. What people are going to realise is after playing WoW, and every MMORPG leaves a lasting impression on you if you played it for any degree of time, what they're going to realise is that they actually prefer something like WoW, which is a realm versus realm, PvE/PvP hybrid game. It's a lot more competitive. And they want a world that can change mechanically as well as lore-wise. And that is something that Warhammer Online is probably going to be able to provide, and that's why I believe it will succeed. But, and this is my main point, it will never beat WoW, because WoW is the be-all and end-all, in my opinion, of casual MMORPGs, and nothing, and I mean nothing, is ever going to beat it on that particular scale. You listen to Blue Please here on WoW Radio, and here's the horror of rapping the forums. Yo, 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 folks, shizzle and so forth, it's time for yet another cringeworthy and horrific edition of the one and only Rapping the Forums. Oh noes. It's where we take the worst possible forum posts imagine, and we turn them into horrible raps. Dog, cat, hippopotamus, murloc. Yeah. So, here we go. You know. Why does Blizzard charge? Says Garrico, a very peak. It's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Why does Blizzard charge monthly fees? It makes me wonder. Because I was recently speaking to a friend who works for the company that makes Guild Wars, and with Guild Wars you don't get monthly fees. He said that they get income from the thousands of copies sold and from sponsors. So I thought, well, I guess with no monthly fees, that content updating, etc. is pretty limited due to cost. But that can't be true, because they are bringing out expansions willy-nilly. 2 in total ATM, with 1 near completion and the sequel to the original. Guild Wars 2, it is if not. Guild Wars has been out for decades. It was released around the same time as WoW was, so is Blizzard robbing us of our money? P.S. a blue explanation would be fantastic. I'm still back in my mind to find a valid reason. Compare GW to the amount of servers and updates that Blizzard provides to us. Guild Wars doesn't have a patch up, does it? They just make another expansion every once in a while, which you gotta buy. At least that's what I heard. 2 completely different games, to be honest. The fact Guild Wars is sold under the same genre as WoW is a tad misleading. Guild Wars patches up all the time, but they do it in the background. All you gotta do is log out and back in after a patch, smiley face. But yes, they are currently spamming those expansion packs. Guild Wars is not an MMO. They are incomparable, both edited by Sneak Under and out within the low WoW users. They still have to pay the monthly fee. Yet, all the new content is for level 70 only, which seems a bit unfair to Blizzard to be doing, and a bit too effing money greedy. Explain, they are both MMORPGs. If you have played the game, then I will welcome your explanations, but if you haven't, stop talking about what you don't know. LOL. What does MMO stand for in your terms? Don't know how Guild Wars does it, but imagine the bill for Blizzard's electrical internet, and developers don't work for bananas. Not sure about that one. So yeah, it costs quite a lot. Try doing the math. How much power does a flippin' zillion CPU, Google gig RAM, and billion TB server eat in a month? And how much internet do 8 million accounts need? And you'll see the numbers are big, really big. Dot, dot, and a dot. Guild Wars is no more an MMO than Counter-Strike would be if I turned the server rooms into virtual cities. A fantasy MMORPG, both are. The companies behind Guild Wars chose a different strategy and had another target group than World of Warcraft. Guild Wars is more casually designed and offers a bit more solo and or role-playing environment. It also heavily focuses on guilds and guild PvP. Guild Wars do update regular with content and do download data, then you enter new zones. They don't need maintenance days and can update flawless. They release expansions you pay further for once in a while to so far, and that's another way for them to provide income. Please don't compare the games, as you shouldn't compare apples and oranges. Former GW player.
It's over 9,000. It's over 9.
a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. You should take a leaf out of your own book. An MMORPG do not in any way require that you're able to meet players in the way you do in World of Warcraft. Ever played a text-based oriented or MMORPG or a simple mod? You have no idea what you're talking about, do you? /lol. Here's a comparison to the Guild Wars and World of Warcraft. World Guild Wars, everything is instance except for the small outpost cities. Seriously, everything you have to invite people while you're inside cities, and then enter the instances to be able to see them. You can hire NPCs to do the hard work for you and ignore the social aspect of the game. 5 servers, I think. World of Warcraft, very little is instance. Whole of Azeroth, Kalimdor, Outland is uninstance, and you can see everybody. In those areas without grouping up with them, there are instances though. You can hire NPCs to do the hard work for you, and you can't ignore the social aspect of the game. Like 300 servers. Shh, this is a big secret. Very few people have figured it out. Again, you may face internal damnation as well as hounding by Blizzard if you read on. Don't say I didn't warn you, and if you do say I didn't warn you, you definitely can continue reading. Blizzard is apparently into business to make money. Yes, I know, huge shock. This thing called charging helps them with this making business. Bet you hadn't expected that, eh? Post edited by Gunnar Bublia. Well, sorry, you are being very narrow-minded. Say Star Wars Galaxies you pay for, along with EVE Online, Final Fantasy XI, City of Heroes / City of Villains, Dark Age of Carmel, Dungeons and Dragons Online, EverQuest, Wars Online, Saga Rising, Vanguard, Saga of Heroes. So to say, oh, Guild Wars, you don't pay. So the biggest and most popular MMORPG of all time makes you pay it, ain't on. With all the others I just listed as well, and the fact, WoW is not the most expensive, or them either. Just being silly. OMG.